Yo, what's up everybody? It's Drewberry and I'm back. Yeah, we're doing a double up on the top 5 Fridays because it's top 5 Fridays and we got to celebrate with these locations because I couldn't just do the top 5 favorite locations without talking about the top 5 bottom ones. So here they are once again, all of the locations in Marvel Snap, 98 active locations as of January 13th. Insane. We are 2 away from 100 locations in the game, which is just wild. This brings up an interesting point. When do they start to incorporate a rotation? Because then it's just going to get to the point where there's like just way too many. You never see some of the super rare ones or something like that. Or maybe it's fine. Maybe we just leave it the way it is. Or maybe if there's like different ranked seasons, we rotate them out. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. But there are some absolutely brutal locations here that people have literally started petitions to delete. So we're going to talk about my bottom 5 least favorite ones. When they show up in my games, I just kind of facepalm. No, not again. You got me. But maybe you guys like them, and that is totally fine. It's subjective. It's everyone's experiences of this game, and it's how you enjoy to play it. But without further ado, let's get into the bottom 5. Number 5, Danger Room. Yeah, Danger Room. I got a bit of a bone to pick with this one. If anybody's watched my streams, I am the unluckiest player at Danger Room. It's not even a competition. It's like 100% chance when I play a card there, I get destroyed. We did some fun stuff with Galactus, destroyed every time. We did some crazy discard. I was playing just a regular old discard deck on stream once, and for some reason, I kept getting Morbius on curve all the time, and Danger Room would come up, and it was like my only like legit play at the time. I played Morbius there, he'd get destroyed every time. Destroyed every time. So it's just like, oh my gosh. I think the problem I have with this location is that it is effectively random. You don't know when you play the card there if it's going to get destroyed or not, which makes it kind of high rolly and fun in a little bit of ways. But for the most part, it's like, great. I got destroyed 3-4 times. My opponent did not. And to top it all off, there's a bit of a problem in Marvel Snap where the bots know a few things that we don't. It's kind of like they have the Daredevil power at all time. They just know the outcome of certain effects. And I have a feeling that they kind of know when something's going to be destroyed or not at Danger Room, so they don't choose to play there or what have you. So that can be a bit frustrating as well. But overall, I just see this one way too many times, and it's super frustrating. I don't want to remove it. I think sometimes it can be fun and creates some highlight reel moments, which is all right. But how about we make it from common to uncommon? We just see it a little bit less. I don't know. Maybe that would be nice. Some synergies, though. I mean, you can get around the destroy and the ability of this location. So you can play Armor Professor X, and then it's not a problem, right? You just play that type of deck, and you're fine. You can play Deadpool and hope it gets destroyed, but with my luck, he never gets destroyed. And then when I play the card to destroy him, that gets destroyed. So goodbye, Carnage, Deathlock, etc. Brood will probably get destroyed with how frequent things get destroyed here, but the Broodlings will survive, so that's something. And then you could play move stuff like Nightcrawler to move them over, so you never even have the chance of being destroyed. And then on top of it all, if you happen to have Null, well, he's going to get all the power from all those cards destroyed because it's not 25% chance, it's basically 75 or 100 depending on who you are. Number 4, the Dream Dimension. Man, this one's just so annoying. Isn't it just like, I don't know why, it never feels good to me. Like Danger Room can maybe have some funny moments, but this is just always a feels bad moment. On turn 5, cards are going to cost 1 more. It's just brutal, dude. Like I don't know why, it just ticks me off, especially because a lot of the times you kind of forget about it, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh great, I don't have anything to do on turn 5. Then I have to figure out a way to win on turn 6. My curve is just absolutely shafted. What am I to do on this location? I'm probably just going to retreat. I'm probably going to retreat because I have nothing. My opponent's got something, and I'm out of here. I was losing to begin with, and this was just the icing on the cake. I'm done. I'm out. Now, there are some ways to get around this a little bit. So Electro can give you that bonus energy, so it's basically like you're on turn 5 anyways. You won't even notice it. Miles Morales, he sets his cost to 1, so I'm pretty sure, I'm not going to say 100%, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't get affected by the Dream Dimension. I think he'll stay at 1 if something moved last turn. And then Shuri, you can still play Shuri on this turn 5 because she costs 4. Same with Spider-Man. They're going to still have great effects. Spider-Man even better so because he'll stop your opponent from playing a card at that location. So then there you go. It's like a turn 5, maybe win that location if possible. You know your opponent's not going to be able to play that much on turn 5 because of this, so it's not too bad. Leader kind of gets buffed from it because if your opponent can't do much on turn 5 and you've set up the leader play correctly and winning the first half of the game, well then you can play leader on 6 and be a little bit safer, and there were less cards played, so the locations are open for leader. It's probably going to be a good time. Infinite actually is one of the greater beneficiaries for this location, because if your turn 5 is going to cost more, then just pass it. Just get by it, and then you were going to do it anyways with Infinite, and then you play Infinite. It's like this location never existed. So maybe those synergies make it worthwhile, but overall, man, it just feels bad. I never enjoy this one. Never. Number 3. Mindscape. Okay, now we're really getting into the random ones, the frustrating ones. Mindscape, man, on turn 6, swap hands. Dude, nobody wants to do that. I mean, the odd time you'll clear your hand out and then you swap and then you give your opponent nothing, and that feels good. The only bright side, in my opinion, is that you can foresee this coming. So you can start to think like, okay, I got to play these cards before that turn, because or else I'm going to give them something good. And there's the funny moment where it swaps and then you get something good because your opponent couldn't get rid of it from their hand. But for the most part, you're playing or building your decks rather to have a good curve. You're trying to have a lot of good 6 cost cards, you know, so that you can play them. That's the whole point. But instead on turn 6, you're giving it to your opponent. It's like, no, I didn't want to do that. What the heck? And also, if you forget that locations are there, then, you know, like, shame on you. It's like the part of the game, you got to remember the effects of the locations in your cards and stuff. But it happens. People are busy doing other things, whatever. So you forget, and then bam, you swap your hands. You look at your hand. It's like, what the heck? These aren't my cards. Where's my big game plan? It's gone. It's in my opponent's hands. All right, so some of the combinations I was thinking with Mindscape, it's kind of hard to like actually get a proper combination. You can't really build for these kind of locations, right? So the Infinite, you know, because you're probably playing on something on turn 5. Your opponent likely played on turn 5. If they pass on turn 5 and you give them Infinite, that's just a Giga Brain play, and fair play to them. But for the most part, that's bricking their hand, and they're not going to really have anything to do with that. America Chavez, the way I understand it is the location will activate at the start of the turn, and you swap hands, and then you draw. So you would still get America Chavez as something reliable from your own deck to play on turn 6, and it doesn't really matter that you swapped hands besides what you gave them. And you'd have the advantage of knowing what they have, so you can kind of like know where to play Chavez and allocate your power total. Ebony Maw, totally dead card. If that's in your hand, they're going to be sad to see it. Agatha, even though it's 14 power and she is going to play herself, they don't have control over where she's going to be played, and that probably will result in a win, I would hope. So I feel like that's a pretty decent play. And then Daredevil's great because if you know what they're going to do on 5, and you know you're going to swap hands on 6, you can kind of calculate everything all together and then play accordingly. Galactus is another crazy one because you can either get rid of Mindscape, or if you have junk in your hand, you can give it to your opponent, and then hopefully that turn 6, because you cheated out Galactus on 5, right? You can use their stuff against them to win the game. Maybe. But even then, it's like, oh, I don't know. Or you give them Galactus on turn 6 and they have to just like go for it, which is probably not a good idea on their part. So overall, I just don't love switching hands. It's just frustrating when it happens and you didn't really see it coming. It's like, oh gosh, I just want to play my cards. Speaking of that, let's check out number 2. Number 2, District X. Oh my God. This is such a close contender to number 1. It's crazy. Replace both decks with 10 random cards. Okay, sweet. I just spent like an hour deck building, trying to like figure out the meta and just like totally destroy my opponents and get a bunch of cubes. But all of a sudden my deck is gone and you give me random stuff? Oh no. This sucks. This is so bad. It's one of the worst. That's why it is getting number 2. I just don't have fun anytime I see that. The only time I think I actually play this location out is on stream, just to see what happens in case it'd be fun. But otherwise, like if I'm just chilling by myself and I'm trying to grind through dailies and I see District X come up, no shot. I'm just getting out of here and on to the next one so I can actually play the deck I meant to play. Luckily, this is a rare location, so you don't see it too often. It is pretty rare, but when it does happen, it sucks, and I don't like it. Some ways to get around this, maybe because you're never really going to see it coming, but if you happen to be running Quinjet, you're probably in a good spot because all of those cards did not start in your deck, and now they're in your deck, and you're going to draw them, and they're going to be discounted by 1. So that's happy days. Maybe Okoye, you buff all of them, then the randomness, the variance is a little bit better because at least they have better power totals than they originally had. Maybe we put rocks in our opponent's deck because not only are they drawing a bunch of random stuff that they don't want to draw, they can also draw rocks and be extra sad. So that sounds like a decent plan. plan. And if they're not sad enough from that, let's just whip them with their hand with Scorpion and ice them with Iceman, because, you know, if you can't play your own deck at just district decks, don't let your opponent play theirs or their random deck. Just totally destroy their deck in hand, and maybe you'll have a shot at having fun at this location. But overall, it's not great. The only saving grace, I will say, the only saving grace is that if you're a new player, you get to play with a lot of cards that you have not seen or played with before. There could be a Series 5 card that pops through here, and you get to play it, and you never see it, and this is a really fun experience. It's almost like a try before you buy it, essentially. But it's not try it in an efficient or natural way, so I don't know how valid that is, but you do get to see the card. I know when I was starting, it was kind of exciting to see what you would get, learn about these new cards. So that's like the only good thing this has going for it. But if you're like an experienced player, you've been playing for months, this is one of the worst. It just sucks to see. Number 1, Subterranea. Yeah, I don't think I'm alone on this one. Subterranea. Talking about putting random cards in my deck, that's bad enough. But luckily, that's a rare location. You see, that's why District X didn't get the number 1 spot. It's rare. Subterranea is common. It's far too common. You see it all the time. And then what are you seeing all the time? Rocks. Now, they're kind of like a meme, and it's sort of funny in Snap. But for the most part, my goodness, dude, I do not love drawing 4 rocks, 5 rocks maybe even, when my opponent is still drawing their natural cards that they brought to the table. Like, holy smokes, I feel like that happens every single time with this location. It's so frustrating. And there's like literally petitions out there to delete this from the game, which I think is pretty funny. I don't know if we need to delete it, but we could at least make it uncommon. Like, just, you know, like decrease the show rate of this a little bit, because it's super frustrating. And one of the decks that it benefits greatly, which is a Series 5 card right now, which feels bad, is Darkhawk over here. Darkhawk gets buffed for every card that's in your opponent's deck. Boom, 5 just got added to your opponent's deck. Happy days. Big Darkhawk. Oh, that was close. But then also Patriot, Khazar, buff up those rocks because they have no abilities. So you can buff them up with Patriot, Khazar, they're 1-drops, you can buff them up. But overall, like, really, like, you didn't want to play those rocks. You're only doing it because the opportunity has arisen. You wanted to play other cards. You're probably playing a flood deck or getting a lot of other stuff out there. It's like a last-ditch effort to throw the rock out for like 1 or 2 power, and sometimes it'll win you the game. But honestly, that could have been anything else that would have been a lot more fun to play. Carnage, Killmonger, destroy them. Sometimes that's okay if you're trying to run a death deck. But here's the thing. There's another location. I can't pronounce it very well, okay? Lechuglia? Oh my gosh, so bad. But anyways, regardless, you get to choose when you get the rocks into your deck, right? When you play a card there, you get 3. So you're acknowledging the risk that you're taking on when you play her. So it's not so bad. This just happens when the location shows up. Boom, you have a bunch of rocks, and it's almost like guaranteed. It's almost like 100% you're going to draw a rock on your next turn. It's like it's right on the top of the deck laughing at you. So anyways, that's my least favorite location in the game. It's just not a very fun one. I honestly, I'm not too bothered by some of these, but like those top 3 or 4 are just brutal. I can get a pass on Danger Room. It's just kind of funny. I had to put it in here, but these 4, like, oh my gosh, I could do without. I do genuinely think that in the future setting where there's like tournaments and a competitive scene, that we're gonna have to have another mode that has a limited location pool. I don't know. I don't have too many thoughts on that in general, but I'd love to hear what you guys think about that. Should that be a thing in the future of competitive Marvel Snap, or just leave it the way it is with the high level of variance? And I also want to know what your least favorite location is, so be sure to comment below, because I'm sure there's going to be some pretty funny answers. So anyways, let's get to the honorable mentions. Or should I say dishonorable mentions. Here's all these locations that almost made the cut. Let's start with Weird World, because first of all, the art is different from, I believe, what it looks like in game, or at least in game it zooms in on that little island. But for the most part, this is like District X, except your opponent's deck. The reason I put it here and not in the top 5 is because at least you know what your opponent is drawing. So you can kind of like gauge like their power totals. And if you've already drawn a few of your key combo pieces, then you don't have to worry about what they're going to do. If anything, you can know confidently that you could snap because you evaluate what they have going on. Another one is Vibranium Mines, Luchuglia. I can't pronounce those, I'm sorry. But those ones, same deal, close to Subterranea because it's putting a bunch of stuff in my deck that I don't like. But you know what? Vibranium Mines, like the Vibranium is actually pretty powerful. It's a 1/4, can't be destroyed. That's actually not too bad. Doesn't feel so bad playing there, but overall I just don't want those in my deck, so I end up avoiding playing cards there. Central Park just throws out squirrels. Honestly, it's just a bit tiring seeing so frequently because now I have less positions to play my cards. It's not even the squirrels that I don't mind or dislike or anything like that. It's just the fact that now I can only play 3 cards at each location, and it's just like, geez, I wanted more space to try out my crazy combos. So that's just done for, especially you're playing Galactus or something, and it's just can't happen anymore. It's done. And then you got the Triskelion. Oh my gosh, dude, random cards. I'm not here for it. And the worst part I find with this one is that because it happens at the start, you can't draw a card. It fills your hand, so you lose a draw, which kind of is always a bummer. And then if the random cards you got are significantly worse than what your opponent has, it's rough. If your opponent plays Scorpion next on that turn, oh my gosh, so rough. Feels bad. Another one that feels bad is X-Mansion, because even if there's the odd time where you get Infinite and your opponent gets like Korg or something like that, just some low level, low power card, there's always going to be the other side where they just instantly win the game off of X-Mansion. And it's just the randomness. I'm just not a huge fan of things that are so random that they impact the game to the point that the winner has essentially been decided. It could be a bait. What if you got Infinite and I'm running Shang-Chi and I'm actually like okay with it and I snap on you and you're like, what? As if you'd snap. I just got a 20 power for free. I'll snap back, and then we play out the game and I end up destroying it. So there's like little nuances like that, but for the most part, it's a rough spot when they get a significantly better card than you. And the last few I didn't talk about is the Icebox. It just sucks. It ruins your curve. It hits the most important card in your hand and you're like, oh, well, geez, that was the worst possible choice and now I'm screwed. But at least your opponent gets hit as well. But it's just Iceman. Everyone's already frustrated with Iceman. So the Icebox is just a bit annoying. And then Attilan. Dude, I don't know why, but this one tilts me so much because I just forget about it. And then Attilan triggers, and then I'm usually trying to plan my turns ahead. So I'm playing, okay, on turn 2, I'm going to do this, turn 3, I'm going to do this, and then on turn 4, I'm going to do this, but then all of a sudden, my hand shuffles into my deck, and then I draw 3 other cards, and my total plan is just gone. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. So I don't really love it, but maybe that one's a bit controversial. But anyways, that's going to do it for me, guys. These are my dishonorable mentions for this week. These are my top 5 Fridays. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for watching. As always, snap subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and I will catch you guys next time.